Welcome back. Another episode of Talking Out with the Greenes. I'm Norman.
I'm Dee.
And today we're going to be talking about a topic that I was having a conversation about when I was out of town, about pre and post-nuptial agreements. This topic is one of those things that a little touchy for married couples, for people that's getting married. But I did some research on this and I was actually surprised. According to Harvard Law, 5% of married couples have a prenuptial agreement. Now,
I thought it was more than that.
Everybody pretty much thought it was more than that. I thought it was more than that, but I disagree with that number. I will say that. I think it should be more, but we gonna unpack that. D, what do you think about we could start off with the prenuptial agreement because I think the post is a little ridiculous, but the prenuptial agreement, what do you think about that?
I agree with it to a certain extent. Let's just say if I had something and it just was my baby and I've been working on it all my life and sweat and tears and, everything went into this, whatever it may be, I want to protect that. And it's not to say that the person I'm going to marry, I don't love them fully or I don't trust them. I just will want to protect that.
I think that it's a misconception when it comes to prenuptial agreements, right? I think people automatically have a negative connotation about it. They don't necessarily look into it or really think about exactly what it is.
No, because they feel like, oh, you're giving me this piece of paper to sign. You don't trust me. You think I'm going to take your money.
Right.
You don't think this is going to work out. So all those things go through people's head, and that's where the negativity coming at. For me, that's what I feel.
Right. So I think that the thing is that with the prenup, I think that it can be done when, like, you're in a situation, maybe it's your second marriage. Maybe you have an inheritance. Mm-hmm. I don't think your spouse is entitled to that inheritance. That's something that goes from generation to generation. Like, you're not entitled to that. That's not yours.
Right.
So I don't think that that's something that should be necessarily shared if things go downhill.
Right.
Personally, I will say, even though I'm pro prenup, me and Denise do not have a prenup. I'll put that out there. I don't care. That's fine. We don't have one. But I will say, I think it's necessary to have one if, and only if, we have a situation where you have assets, you have inheritance, you have certain things. Now, we hear about these couples all the time. Here recently, the biggest thing, Jeff Bezos. How much money was that? It was
a lot.
63 million.
It was like 63 million or billion that he lost. Like, so my thing is, right, he could have had a prenup and like 30 million of it she gave to Delaware State University. So like she's giving money away at this point. But was she with him when he was in his garage and had Amazon as a bookstore?
But who knows when she came into the picture? Who knows? Even if he started it in his garage, had a bookstore or whatever the case may be, what did she contribute? You don't know if she came into play and started helping him and doing things like that. I'm just saying, I don't know. I wasn't there. But you don't know.
Right.
You don't know.
But don't you think that, because a lot of people's going to disagree. Like, we both kind of like said, a prenup could be a thing. But a lot of people's going to disagree.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure we talk on those people. So don't you think that he's, like, if she wasn't there from day zero, forget day one, day zero, how is she necessarily entitled to that?
So I wouldn't say because she wasn't there from when it first started, she shouldn't get anything, because you don't know when she came in what she contributed, how she made the company grow, what blood, sweat, and tears did she put into it to help him.
So,
but I won't disagree with how much money she got and things like that.
Right.
Now, I do feel like sometimes it's unfair with the, when you get in a divorce, what the other person get.
Yeah, because
sometimes I do think it's unfair.
I think that is ridiculous. I think that the court system, as a man, the court system is predicated to the woman.
I wouldn't say that all the time because look at Mary J. Blige.
No, there is examples. I was going to bring that up because what happened to shout out to Candace Parker. What happened to Candace Parker was ridiculous. A lot of people don't know that story, but basically the way that story went, she was married to, I think his name is Sheldon Williams, or I think that's his name. He used to play ball for Duke.
Don't quote us, but go
ahead.
He
used to play. I do know he used to play basketball for Duke, and he wasn't that good. He did make it to the NBA, but he didn't make. He's not a Candace Parker. His wife probably was better than him hooping. So, but regardless of that, like alimony, this and that, like he got alimony. So yeah, there are situations, but for the most part,
with Mary J. Blige, her husband got alimony and stuff. He told the judge, from what I'm hearing, that he wanted his same lifestyle, but he the one who was cheating with her assistant or whoever he was cheating with and stuff. He broke that marriage.
And the thing is that that's the same exact thing. How can he wasn't in the studio when she was doing Real Love and What's
he
the
definitely wasn't, because I got all those albums. He definitely wasn't there.
He wasn't doing the Mary Bop with her. Like,
no.
You know what I mean? He wasn't doing that. So like he's not supposed to get that. A lot of people will sit there and say, well, if you're getting a prenup, what you getting married for? If you're getting a marriage license, what you getting married for? If you get a marriage license, what you getting married for? I can say that for a whole lot of things. Marriage license, that's for another episode. But I will say this. A prenuptial agreement is just protecting what you've already had. That's all it's doing. And who's to say it's not one-sided?
Right.
Like, you can be protecting what you have. I can be protecting what I have.
And you can also put some clause in there that says, like, if that person cheats or that person steps out or just don't want to be there anymore, this is what you get. And you can also put in there, okay, you're going to leave with what you brung, I'm going to leave with what I brung, and what we got together, that's what gets divided. Which
is sensible. So, God forbid something happens to me, or God forbid you say, I don't want to be in this marriage anymore. Mm-hmm. And, we hash it out cordially, friendly, we separate. You keep the house. You remarry. That's not Bull house.
Yeah, no.
This is your house.
Right.
That's not his house. He's not entitled to that.
Right.
If y'all get a divorce now, he want the house. No. You sign that prenup. Mm-hmm. You get that prenup. Mm-hmm. Because now you have an asset. You have something that's yours that he didn't have anything to do with, mm-hmm. right? And because he didn't have anything to do with it, this is yours.
Right.
He wasn't with you shooting in the gym when you was trying to get this house. I'm just saying, like, he wasn't. Like, this is your house. Mm-hmm. If something happens to me, the house is paid off. This is your house. Right. This is our kid's house. It's not his house.
Right.
And I'm using that for an example, God forbid. But at the same time, this is what prenups are for. And I think that the conversation could be had for people that's about to get married, people that's thinking about getting married, to have assets, to have inheritance, to have these things. I think the conversation, you can have a sensible conversation about this without it breaking your relationship up.
Right.
I really do. I think, and like I said, we're conversation starters. So if you sit there and have pillow talk about this, I think maybe you can come to a sensible agreement. Nobody's saying, yo, I don't really mess with you like that, so I'm going to get this prenup because I think we might get a divorce. Nobody's saying that. We're just saying protect.
If you do get a divorce.
Yeah, protect what's yours.
Because you can't tell the future. You don't know what somebody's going to do. You don't know if somebody's going to change your mind. It's kind of like you need to protect yourself.
Yeah, protect what's yours.
And even if, say if that person says, like, look, I don't want anything. I don't got to sign that. I don't want anything. Soon as something happens, y'all go to court, that judge determines everything.
The judge determines
everything. That judge says, okay, so you was a stay-at-home mom and he worked, but now you gonna be homeless, So now he still needs to pay you.
Yeah. That's
and now
true.
he's like, well, we had an agreement. She said she wasn't taking me for anything. But now she's like, well, I didn't think about what I was going to do, how I was going to live. So you just never, I don't know. You just never know.
Like for instance, I don't know.
I say protect yourself.
I don't know.
At all costs.
Like, I don't know, but I remember when Dwayne Wade got divorced from his first wife. And like I said, I don't know too much about the story, but I feel like he might have had a prenup because she got nothing. And she was on the street. Like, like she was on the street, like homeless. Like, and with a sign, like, or at least portraying that she was homeless. But then he didn't have the kids first. So I don't know how that went. I don't know how that dynamic went. But the reason why I brought him up is because Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union, somewhat of a power couple. She was an actor way prior to him. He was a basketball player prior to her. Mm-hmm. So that's an example on a very high level of they should have a prenup to me. Now, whether or not they have one, I don't know. Whether or not this is my opinion. I'm not saying that, they should get one, but what I am saying is that I think that would be the prototypical situation for one. What do you think?
I mean, some people don't think how we think.
Maybe
some people just go with the flow. And granted, we don't have one, so it's like, who's to say somebody else should have one?
Okay, so
I have a question. Mm-hmm. Why does prenuptial agreements establish distrust within a relationship?
Why does prenuptial agreements establish distrust? Shout out to our producer, Chris. He had a question, so he asked. I think that it's the misconception. Mm-hmm. I think it's the misconception. I think that everybody thinks, when you say something to someone, people either have a negative or positive reaction. So I think what ends up happening is the misconception of the last word of it. Everybody says prenup, but what it's supposed to say is prenuptial agreement. It's not a contract. It's a contractual agreement, but it's not one-sided. It doesn't have to be one-sided. Mm-hmm. It could easily say, like, all right, you get the house and I get the cars. Like, something stupid, But you know what, also, I feel like a lot of people that's coming into the relationship with nothing, you're coming in with somebody with a lot of things, and that person with all the things is saying, I want a prenup. So to that person that have nothing, it makes them feel less than. But it doesn't have to make them feel like that. It doesn't have to make them feel like that. You can definitely say, okay, well, I know why I'm with you. I'm sure I know why you're with me, because obviously we're getting married. But this is what I want to put in. Although I don't have anything coming into, that person might have a job or whatever, but I'm saying they don't have any assets. They can say, although I don't have any assets to come in and to protect, I want to protect myself moving forward. So whatever that person with all the assets is saying, they can offset that and say, look, if you cheat or if you mess up or if you don't want me anymore, this is what I want to keep me on my feet versus, me just leaving with nothing. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A lot could easily be taken advantage of. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Right.
Because you can come into that relationship, the person with all the assets, they might be established, but you might bring something to that business because now you guys are a team. So at the end of the day, you can easily say whatever we're generating together once I get there, I want half of that. Whatever you had before I came into, the picture, you can take that, but moving forward from this year, this month, this date on, we split that. Yeah. And that can be something. So the person that don't have nothing or that's not bringing any assets or anything into the relationship, you don't have to feel down. You don't have to feel like, oh, this person don't trust me. They make me feel like, I'm going to leave with all their things. You don't have to feel like that. But what you can do is put some things in that contract that protects you when you're leaving out. So that I will say.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I can't disagree with anything that you're
because
saying.
I think that's where the negativity comes in.
Yeah, and you're probably right. I never really, actually, you know what? I'm so glad you said it that way because I never even really looked at it that way, even though I seen that it was just a negative, just a false negative connotation. It just was like, because
I've never seen two people that had a lot of assets disagree about a prenuptial agreement.
Right.
I've never.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
always like the one person
it's
with
one
all
side.
the assets and then the person that comes in with nothing, because it makes them feel less than. It makes them feel like, oh, I'm not coming in with anything, so now you don't trust me. You're trying to protect all your stuff, like I'm just going to take your stuff. I mean, whatever the negativity or the thought process is, which I really don't know, it's just what I think in my opinion. I feel like you can put something in there for you too. You don't have to.
And you know what? Now that you say that, I would really question the fact of someone or two people who, have a lot, right? And then one of them disagree with the prenup. I would really question that.
Yeah.
That would make my mind spin if it was me. Like, I'd be like, wait a minute. Is this like a quick money grab for you from a man's perspective? Like, you know what I mean? To a woman. Like, okay, you got some things, I got some things. I want a prenup, but you don't want a prenup? Why not? I'm asking you to protect your assets too. I'm not saying, like, that would make me, from a man's perspective, that would make me question some things. Like, if we were talking to someone and they were saying, yo, what do you think about this prenup? I was like, but they don't want it. I'm like, I don't want to say red flag, because at this point red flag is cliche and I don't want to say that. But what I am going to say is it just would raise an eyebrow to say.
But if both parties come in and they have a lot of things or whatever, and they both agree on not getting one, I mean, that makes sense to me. It's like
both.
And they both have a lot of assets. Like you said, Gabrielle and Dwayne, they don't really need one. I mean, they both well off. They both,
that's true.
Whatever. They probably like whatever.
That's very true.
It is what it is. We live in.
Yeah.
But like I said, for those people that are coming in with all those assets and the other person doesn't have much, that's where it gets a little hasty. Yeah. So, I mean.
And then, like, a lot of times you don't know what people would do for money. You start to see the ugly side of people when it comes to money. Even though it was fictional, I am going to bring it up because it was realistic. Why did I get married to? And why did I get married to Janet Jackson's husband? They were getting a cordial divorce, supposedly. And they were both very successful.
He wanted the money from her book.
He wanted the money from her book that she wrote.
No, what he said was, like to one of my points, what he said was, who was up with you those late nights writing that shit in the book? I done wrote a couple of pages in that book. That's what he said.
I'm going to tell you something. You could call me.
That's one of my points.
You could say, I'm going to say this to all of our viewers. I'm going to say this. You selfish motherfucker. Like, listen. Like, that right there is ridiculous. That's selfish. I don't agree with it. You don't do nothing like that.
But remember, he didn't want to really get a divorce, so people would do anything, and this is why prenups come into play.
Exactly. That's why he should have one.
But he had his own business that she helped him start.
That's exactly. So leave her book alone. She leave your business alone.
He was doing it to taunt her, though.
He was doing it to be a selfish asshole. That's what he was doing. And I don't even talk. I'm pro fella. I'm pro men. I'm a man. Like, at the end of the day, I'm going to take up for the fellas. I'm all for it. But him, no. It was fictional, thank God. But him, absolutely not. That right there was, I was like, yo, I was sitting there like a chick, like, yo, no, he didn't. Like, yo, baby, you see him? He ain't shit. That's what I said. I was like, yo, he ain't shit. This dude right here. And then, like, and granted, it was unfortunate what happened and everything at the end. However, like, I thought that was ridiculous. And that right there is my prime example of why maybe you should have a prenup. Now, a couple people might ask, because I'm not going to shade it over. A couple people might ask, well, y'all ain't got no prenup. Well, it's real simple. We don't got no prenup because we ain't had shit when we got together. So what was we going to get a prenup for? We ain't had nothing.
Right.
So, we got together. We were young. We weren't even 25 years old. So, I mean, it's one of those things where, no, we don't have one.
You're just building together.
Yeah, we building together.
Hopefully it never comes to that.
Yeah.
We 11 years strong, almost.
Yeah, well, 11 years married. Like,
yeah.
We got, 15 years together?
Yeah.
So, I mean, no, we don't have one. But now it's this thing called, and we're going to touch on it real quick. I think it's just ignorant. Post-nuptial agreements. Like, that's a thing. Like so in the middle of our marriage.
I don't know too much of that.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about it, so.
Just because it's a thing, we're going to talk about it just real quick. Like, so you get married. Mm-hmm. You might start from nothing, build.
Okay.
And then when you build, you can say, yo, you know what? We need to sign this agreement. I can't even say it right. It seems weird even talking about it. We're going to sign this agreement to separate these items so that you can have this and I can have that, and that'll be it if we get a divorce. In the middle of your marriage.
All right, so pause. We're not doing that. You come to me with some paper to say post anything.
Post-nuptial agreement.
Okay.
Post-nuptial
agreement. Whatever it is. Tell me something. We need to split these items up just in case we get a divorce. I'm going to look at you and say, well, what we doing then, bro? We already here.
Yeah, now, here's the thing. Let's just say, I got an example, right? And they just happened to get a divorce, but Dr. Dre and his wife, right? Dr. Dre did already have money.
Yeah.
But as he was married, his money changed drastically.
Right.
Because Beats headphones
right.
was sold to Apple.
Right, we got it.
That's monstrous. We talking about a different type of money at this point.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So that put him at billionaire status.
Okay.
So when that happened, I'm being controversial. I'm being objective. I know. When that happened, is it right for him to get a post-nuptial agreement at that point?
I mean, that's up to him, but I ain't his
it's
wife.
It's up to him, CT.
But I ain't his wife.
We're not talking about you. We're talking about in general.
I can only speak from me and my opinion. And my opinion said... So speaking...
From a woman, not Denise. Speak from a woman.
So I am a woman at the end of the day. And if my husband comes to me in the middle of our marriage, like today or tomorrow, with a piece of paper saying, yeah, let's just go over this. Let's, talk about the items that we have. And, just in case we get a divorce, I want this to be all figured out. In the back of my head, I'm going to be like, it's about to go down. He either doing something, want to do something, planning to divorce me.
But isn't that something the same?
Listen, if we didn't do it in the beginning, if we did not do it in the beginning, establish it in the beginning, then therefore we will not establish it in the middle, the end, or whatever you want to call it. I feel like that's some straight BS. Now, unless two people agree on it and it was a conversation, then I guess so. But we ain't never talk about it. So as a woman, and say if I'm married to Dre, I'm his ex-wife, and he come to me like, yeah, I want to talk. No, I'm not signing that. Okay. I'm not signing that.
Now, I just want to be clear. I wouldn't do nothing like of the sort. Because that would make me a hypocrite of what I just said about my man on why did I get married to. I wouldn't do.
We're not doing that.
I wouldn't do nothing of the sort. It's no way.
And you talk about how a prenuptial agreement is so negative. Now that's horrible.
Well, no, I was saying that it's a false negative. Like it shouldn't be such a negative connotation right from the rip.
Right, but this post.
Oh yeah, the post is crazy.
But the post one is crazy.
The post is crazy.
Who's doing that?
I just feel like
who's doing that?
It's people that do it. It's such thing.
Unless you guys are separated already. Like you know how you know how people just separate on their own. Like, all right, we ain't messing with each other. I'm moving out. But you don't want to get a divorce. Y'all still legally married. Then that's something to say. Let's fill this out. Let's just talk about it while we still amicable or whatever, and just get this over
you should say that because in some states, in the state of Delaware,
6 months.
You have to be separated for 6 months
with no sex.
With no sexual contact. No, you out of the same house. You can't be in the same house before you can get a divorce. So that's one of those things where it might hurt or help, but then you going like, who's doing now? Fellas, if you doing that, like you out of the house and you like, yo, let's get this post-nuptial agreement. There's no damn way she's signing that. Like now you.
No. I will sign it, but guess what? Where my terms at, bruh? We speak up for yourself. Whether you male, female, speak up for yourself because while he's saying,
I'm not signing it.
Yeah, but it might be some things that you want and some things that I want. It's all about coming together. You can't just go to your lawyer and put everything that you want. No, we got to sit and talk about that.
I'm going to have your people call my people and then we go talk about it. That's what we going to do. Like, I guess that's what we going to do. I'm not, listen, first of all, I wouldn't do that. Let's just get that clear. Just speaking for myself, I wouldn't do nothing like that.
I'm just saying, hypothetically.
Yeah, I know. I understand what you're saying.
You know.
I just think that's quite ridiculous. I wouldn't do nothing like that as far as a post-nuptial agreement, regardless of what. But what I am going to say is, I think the negative connotation needs to go away as far as the prenup. Let's just push the post-nup to the side. Let's just sweep that under the rug.
I feel like the post-nup is for people that already know that.
Yeah, it's already
it's just not working. You guys want to be amicable. You guys are still talking, maybe still live in the same house or whatever, and you just want to get things like, to that point. If you guys get to that point, it's not like, you got to lawyer up and do all that other stuff. It's things that you can just handle on your own.
Yeah, basically, if you already belong to the streets, you need to, the post-nup, I guess.
Yeah,
whatever.
While you guys are still talking, and you don't got to deal with the court.
Yeah, I mean, you already in the streets anyway, so that's why you get the post-nup to begin with. I will say that with the prenup, I think the negative connotation has to go away. I think that the negativity, I think it can be a conversation if you have those assets. If it's your second marriage, I think a conversation needs to be had. You might probably learn some things from your first marriage, use that. I think you can have that conversation. If you're one of those couples where, y'all about to get married, maybe, in y'all 30s or something like that, and it's your first marriage, but you done lived life through your 20s, you're very successful, you have houses, inheritance, 401ks, IRAs, you have all of these things, she's not entitled to that.
And there's nothing
or
wrong.
He's not entitled to that. I'm sorry, he or she is not entitled to that.
There's nothing wrong with protecting yourself, but for those people that's coming into that relationship and they're not as established, I feel like don't be scared and don't be mad because they're just trying to protect themselves. But you can put something in there to protect yourself too. Don't just sign anything. Don't get mad. Don't say you don't love me because they probably love you. They probably, deeply in love with you because that's why y'all getting married. But at the end of the day, you don't have to feel down about it. You still protect yourself. Don't be signing anything that say you leave how you came in after, these nights you're going to be up helping that sad person, whether you male or female, and you're going to be contributing and things like that. You make sure you put something in there for yourself as well.
Yeah, make sure you put in there just like make sure you put that in there like, like what Ike said. Ike said the last name stays home. That's what he said. He said the last name stays home. He said it stays home with me.
Listen. My last name gonna be Greene unless you paying for it to get turned back.
Nah, it stay home. It stay right here with me. That's what I said. That's what Ike said. It stay home with me. Nah, I'll play.
So, question to round this out: is it safe to say that even in your marriage, you should still know your worth?
Absolutely.
So with the prenup, primarily you should know your worth financially, or just know who you are and know your worth, period. But with the prenup, it's based around financials for the most part, assets, things like that. And yeah, you should know your worth. You should be very responsible as far as what you have already.
Yep.
I just feel as though that is very important, and I feel as though a civil conversation can be had.
And like I said, for that person that's coming in with nothing, know your worth.
Absolutely.
Because you won't be up with that person, traveling and doing everything else for that sad person. Know your worth at the end of the day. Yeah. Don't just be signing any old thing if that person can be done with you today or tomorrow, you won't walk away with nothing. Because you need to put something in there that's going to protect yourself, know your worth, know that, you know, when you leave out of that relationship that you're going to get something.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a man, like, you know, I'll know my worth, you know, like say for instance, like Candace Parker, for instance, I'll use her for an example. Or no, matter of fact, not Candace Parker. Any of these WNBA superstars that make a whole lot of money, 9 times out of 10, husband or, you know, wife, whatever they're into, they might be home. Mm-hmm. So they're holding down home because it's a successful woman that's making the money. They're holding down the babies and the kids and all of that. Mm-hmm. That man or that, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say man, that spouse still has a worth.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
I feel like entitlement because they're home with the kids. You know why? So that you can go out and be successful and ball and travel and do whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But I'm gonna be the best. I'll be the best house husband ever. Like I'm chilling.
Yo, you've been trying to be a house husband for a long time.
No, I have not. I have not.
You always say that. You be like, yo, I'll be the best. You know, I dropped the kids off. I had dinner ready. Clothes fluffed and folded.
Yo, listen,
and I just look like, yo,
I'm doing all of that. I'm doing all of that. Listen, I have my fluffed and folded, ready to go. You know what I mean? I make sure I work out twice a day for you. You know, because I gotta look right. You know, you come home like I gotta be right because you know the bull's outside and all that. But anyway, that's another topic for another day. Just saying, like I gotta be right. You coming home to me. So, but yeah.
All right, guys.
Have a conversation about pre and post nups. It's okay. Talk about it. Till next time.
Bye.